Welcome back to Music Kingdom. In this video we are listening to, giving a music theory breakdown for, and reviewing the acoustic edition of Taylor Swift's Anti-Hero from the album Midnights. Hang tight. Hey music lovers, my name is Francis. If you'd like to support the work I put into these videos, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support the channel even further, you'll find Music Kingdom's Patreon and other affiliate links in the description below. Alright, now at this part of the video is usually when I say something like, before we give the song a listen, let's briefly talk context of the song we're about to listen to. However, I anticipate that most of you watching this are what many would call Swifties or Taylor Swift fans, so I feel if I were to be explaining context or information to my knowledge of the song Anti-Hero or the album Midnights or Taylor Swift in general, I wouldn't be saying anything new to you. And most likely, all of you know more than I do about Taylor Swift, because while I have a devout passion for music, I will not claim to be a diehard, super savvy, knowledgeable fan of Taylor Swift. In addition to that, in case you didn't know, about roughly a month back on this channel, I put out a video ranking every single song from the 3 a.m. edition of Midnights by Taylor Swift from worst to best. The video took me roughly 3 hours to shoot. It ended up being about a 45-minute video. So I do talk about the album very much in depth. And for what it's worth, I ranked Anti-Hero probably 5 out of the 20-ish songs, forgive me for not remembering exactly how many, that are on that edition of the album. So if you haven't checked that out and you're curious about my thoughts not just on this song but the rest of the album, by all means grab yourself a glass of wine or a can of beer and sit back and watch 45 minutes of me rambling about the album. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you, the devout, passionate, ready for battle Taylor Swift fans, to let me and others know in the comments any trivia, facts, history, context regarding Anti-Hero or the album Midnights in the comments below. And for what it's worth, I am excited to review the acoustic version of this song, because not just regarding Anti-Hero itself, the original version that came out, but other songs that are for the radio, for lack of a better term, kind of radio friendly, if you will, mainstream pop hits. A lot of them, historically speaking, not just by Taylor Swift, when you listen to them, you can picture in your mind how much better suited they would be perhaps either on an acoustic guitar or perhaps just on a piano, giving it to us a bit more raw or even at a slower tempo. Turns out there are plenty of songs that I've loved throughout the years that I'll just type on YouTube and someone's covering it on the piano, or maybe someone remixes it with piano or guitar, and it's stunning. And the lyrics, while you are aware of the lyrics, they still hit you a little bit differently. So back to Anti-Hero, I had the same thoughts. You know, it sounded not generic, but it sounded like a kind of a pop radio hit, while the lyrics were still exceptional in this song. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of this song. So I am very pleased, is my point, to review a version of it that I feel might be more deserving. And to be honest, I was kind of wondering / expecting Taylor Swift to release a bit more of a sentimental rendition of this song, because in my opinion, it is what the song deserves. Be sure to stick around after we listen to the song for a music theory breakdown from our expert, and then we're going to break the song into various categories, arriving at a song score.
I have this thing where I get older, but just never wiser. Midnights become my afternoon.
You can already feel the difference in vibe.
When my depression works the graveyard shift, all of the people I've ghosted stand there in the room. I should not be left to my own devices. They come with prices and vices. I end up in crisis. All this time.
Amazing, the way it flows.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. At tea time, everybody.
It feels so much more intimate as well.
I'll stare
and vulnerable.
directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. It must be exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero.
I love the harmonies as well. It's a nice production.
Sometimes I feel like everybody is a sexy baby, and I'm a monster on the hill.
This verse, by the way.
Too big to hang out, slowly lurching toward your favorite city. Pierced through the heart, but never killed. Did you hear my covert narcissism? My disguise as altruism, like some kind of congressman.
Amazing.
It's me.
This version is so well put together too.
It's me at tea time. Everybody agrees. I'll stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. It must be exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero. I have this dream, my daughter-in-law kills me for the money. She thinks I left them in the will.
Amazing, I love that.
The family gathers around and reads it, and then someone screams out, she's laughing up at us from hell.
Genius.
It's me, I am the problem, it's me. It's me, I am the problem, it's me. At tea
I love the
time,
strings that you can hear in
everybody
the background.
agrees. I'll stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. It must be exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero.
Initial thoughts. For me, that version is so much better. And I don't mean to insult the original version, but I guess music industry wise, if you're putting out the single of a new hyped album, you kind of want it to be a banger, almost like it's a business decision, something you can bop to and that kind of goes hard. But as mentioned earlier in this video, the lyrics and the nature of the song almost demand or deserve something a bit more raw and down to earth, which this is. Whether it was done with acoustic or piano, I found it to be so tasteful, and they also added these elements of strings in there as well. They weren't overbearing strings where it was some gorgeous ballad that was just a totally entirely different song, but it added a sense of beauty to it as well. Personally speaking, as mentioned, I did rank it 5th best on the album Midnights because it is one of my favorites. However, I would have ranked it a bit higher if the original album version was this version. The reason I ranked it so high, even still, despite my feelings of it kind of just sounding like a somewhat generic kind of radio banger, is because of the lyrics. In my opinion, this is one of the better written songs of the entire album, and is probably why I'm not the biggest fan of the chorus in that song. I think most commonly in the history of music, the chorus is the star of the show. In this song, the verses are the star of the show. That is where the real genius is in this song, and then you get to the chorus and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, let's get back to the verses. Now, this song also has one of the best lines of lyrics, or perhaps verses of lyrics, I've heard in quite some time by any artist of any genre, of any decade. Honestly, it is the second verse of the song, and I will explain a bit more of that later when I'm breaking down the song and giving it a grade. But before we get to that, let's first go to the Experts Corner for a music theory breakdown.
Welcome to the Experts Corner. This is the acoustic version of Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift. Now, this song is in the time signature of 4/4, and it's in the key of E major. That's E major. Musically, this song is very simple, so I'm going to show you what's happening. Throughout the entire song, there is a 4-chord chord progression that repeats itself the whole time, never changes. So if you want to learn this song, pretty easy. So it starts on A major, which is the 4 of the chord. Then it goes down to E major, which is the 1, which is home. Then it goes to B major, which is the 5. Then it goes to C sharp minor, which is the 6. 4, 1, 5, 6. It's a pretty standard chord progression, and it's heard in many, many songs. Here it is in action. It's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. To be honest, I've always had a pretty strong bias towards the music side of things and not so much the lyrics. I've just always been that way. But I have to be fair to this song, even though it is a little too simple musically for my liking, I have to give kudos to the wonderful songwriting, the wonderful lyrics. The production is good too. Compared to the original version, I actually really like this version. The guitars, the string arrangements, the bass, the really subtle rhythm. It's got a nice laid back feel, and it's pretty nice to listen to. So I'm gonna give this song a 6 out of 10, which might seem low, but considering the music doesn't do anything for me at all, and that's where my bias lies, I think 6 is pretty fair because I am including lots of points for the wonderful lyrics and all the rest of it. Back to you, Francis.
A very special thank you to our expert for providing a music theory breakdown and giving the song a score that many would disagree with, some might agree with. Either way, it is now time to break the song into various categories, throw in the expert score, average them out, and arrive at a final song score. But before I do, a little bit of a disclaimer, you guys. I am not trying to attack Taylor Swift. I am doing what I love to do on this channel because on this channel we are music nerds and we like to grade and assess music. So I am giving Taylor Swift the treatment I give literally anyone else that we review. So please do not take it personally if I deliver some kind of commentary that you don't agree with. We're not always going to agree, and that's okay. With that said, let's get right to it. Starting off with composition, I'm inclined to give the song a 6 out of 10. And while I haven't even seen the music expert's takes yet, he has given me some of his thoughts. I usually watch what he has to say long after I shoot. But I'm assuming that it is a simple chord progression, that it is nothing necessarily too complex, that it is very commonly used, which I acknowledge is kind of to be expected with Taylor Swift because her act, if you will, her shtick, her gift is her ability to write, not necessarily create the most extravagant, complex compositions. Having said that, with that in mind, I'd probably give the composition a 4 or a 5, but the reason I'm bumping it up to a 6 is simply because melodically, it is still very pretty. It is a very pretty song to where I would probably give its melody and beauty in that sense probably a 7 out of 10, which is very healthy and strong. I personally really like the melody, especially during the verses, not so much the chorus as mentioned. So if you were to give that, say, a 7 and give its kind of structure a 4 or 5, I find that a 6 is fair. Moving on to production, I'm inclined to give the song a 7.5 out of 10, which is very strong. To be honest, if I were grading the original album version of Anti-Hero, it'd probably be not much less than that, but a little bit less. However, this one, albeit a very raw and stripped down simple production, is still very well done. It is still very tasteful. Production does not have to be complex or necessarily overproduced to get a high score. No, you can have a super overproduced song and have a low score. It's more so about how it's done, how tasteful it is, how appropriate it is, how it all fits together. And so personally, I feel the decision to do this song with an acoustic aesthetic and then mix in the ever so subtle hints of strings throughout was very well done. So in my opinion, a 7.5 accurately reflects that. A 7.5 means it's pretty good, it's not amazing, and that's okay. Up next we have lyrics, which in my opinion are the star of the show and is to be expected with Taylor Swift music in general. The lyrics of the song, in my opinion, deserve an 8.5 out of 10. I apologize if you were hoping for a 9 or a 10. I just give those out so sparingly. Well, I've never given out a 10. I've only given out one 9.5, and 9s are exceptionally rare. So for me, 8.5 is quite the compliment. Please don't interpret it as an insult. In my opinion, this song is some of Taylor Swift's best writing yet. Am I gonna say it's her best writing ever? No, I think other songs might be on par or better. I'd really have to kind of have them in front of me and weigh them, but in my opinion, this is absolutely one of the best. What astounds me about this one in particular is the self-awareness, and I don't mean to insinuate that Taylor Swift is not self-aware in other songs. Of course she is, she's a great writer. But this one in particular, there's a certain feeling of maturation and self-awareness, which in my opinion is so very welcome, especially as she gets older. I mean, Taylor Swift, I feel old. I mean, she's basically a grown-ass woman now. She's no longer that little love story Taylor Swift that we all met years ago. And as mentioned earlier, it has one of the best verses of lyrics by anyone that I have heard in quite some time. So much so that I'm actually going to read them, which I don't usually do in my videos when I'm talking about lyrics, but they deserve the spotlight, and so here I go. Sometimes I feel like everybody is a sexy baby and I'm a monster on a hill. Too big to hang out, slowly lurching toward your favorite city. Pierced through the heart but never killed. Did you hear my covert narcissism I disguise as altruism like some kind of congressman, tale as old as time. Wow. I'll be honest, you guys, that is some genius shit. Seriously, that level of self-awareness needs to be contagious. More people need to think like that. Right now we're in an era of so much virtue and righteousness and hypocrisy and preaching, and people probably feeling good about themselves while also covering narcissism. Honestly, that verse, if it were like a post on Facebook or Instagram, would probably be flagged like, hey, do not think this way. We do not want you to think this way. This is false information. In addition to that, the third verse where she's talking about the dream she had about being killed for the money and the will and laughing from hell. I thought that was so genius. I thought that was so well written, and the way it flows too. It's one thing to write lyrics that make sense, and that tell a story, but to do it in a way that flows very effectively will always impress me. It also reveals a certain sense of paranoia that only few people who get to that level of fame can relate to or experience. You'll hear stars of a sitcom or professional athletes or people in general who have some level of fame already talk about how it might be hard to trust people and are they in your life for the right reasons, but someone on the level of fame that Taylor Swift has achieved, which is no small feat, it gets to a certain point where you're actually questioning your innermost circle, your family. It almost reminds me to some extent of Michael Jackson, who, no disrespect to Taylor Swift, but no one will ever touch that level of severe fame. But I mean, in his later music, as he had decades and decades of being the most famous human being, a lot of it was basically like, I'm gonna fucking be killed. Someone's gonna murder me. Like, he couldn't sleep anymore. It really gets to the psyche. So it is impressive and a bit heartbreaking to hear that Taylor Swift, already still at a young enough age, is experiencing these senses of paranoia and just a lack of trust, even if it was a dream. All right, enough rambling. Let's move on to vocals, which I am giving a 6.5 out of 10. And I also don't mean that to be an insult. I do believe that Taylor Swift has a fine voice. I think she is a lovely singer. However, that's not necessarily by any stretch of the imagination an outstanding vocal performance. If it was, that's probably what I would give an 8 or a 9 or a very rare 10, which I've never given. So a 6.5 is solid. If a 5 is middle of the road, if a 5 is this person can sing, Taylor Swift's voice is very pretty. It's just this song in particular isn't necessarily jaw-dropping, and I am sure that Taylor Swift has other songs where she's really showcasing more of her pipes. This song just isn't one of them, and that's okay, just being objective. One final thought on that note that I will add, however, is I do like in the verses when she kind of gets into that deep Taylor Swift voice and she's kind of just flowing with the lyrics. Nothing crazy amazing by any means, but I just love that sound coming from her. Now at last we have our final category of originality and or inspiration, which I am giving a very strong 8 out of 10. The reason is I love how autobiographical it is, and I realize so many Taylor Swift songs are also autobiographical, but this one is a bit fresh in my opinion. It's very, as mentioned, vulnerable, it is very self-aware, it is very honest, and to talk about themes of depression or paranoia or self-awareness being the narcissism and altruism thing, in my opinion, that is very inspired. That comes from somewhere that is original. Is it so original that it's never been done before? Of course not, and I think all of us are guilty when it comes to our favorite artists in the world, not just Swifties, but anyone who's into Drake or Kanye West or Eminem, whoever it might be. We do have a habit of, like, if something's impressive, we jump to this, oh, this is the best ever. No one's ever done it like this. She's the first of her kind. It's not true, but she does it very well. Which kind of leads me to why I'm giving originality and inspiration an 8, is because while it's nothing really new to say, it's me, hi, I'm the problem, of course not, that's been done before, but the way in which she does it is a way where it's not redundant, and that's what impresses me. In order to achieve not being redundant when something has been done before, you need to do it in a fresh way, you need to do it in a creative way, you need to do it in an original way, and it needs to be inspired, which, in my opinion, she did successfully. Combine that with the other musical elements of this song, and it makes for a very original and inspired song. Very clever usage of her harmonies, very tasteful usage of the guitar and strings, a nice enough composition and pretty enough vocals. 8 out of 10, very strong. Now if you add it all up, throw in the expert score and average it out, Anti-Hero the acoustic edition from Taylor Swift's Midnights gets a very healthy 7 out of 10. If that seems a little low to you, I do apologize, but that is the overall ranking of the song, not just the lyrics. It's weighing everything that makes a song what it is. So what is a 7 out of 10 if not very good? Is it truly great, which would be 8s, 9s, and 10s? No, but it's very good. So I feel a 7 accurately reflects that. It's a good song. In my opinion, it is great seeing Taylor Swift continue to grow and evolve and mature. I was impressed with her album Midnights. I was impressed enough with Anti-Hero, and now I'm especially impressed with this rendition of Anti-Hero as well. As mentioned, while I don't claim to be a Swiftie, and I guess for what it's worth, I'm still not really the biggest fan of her music, not because I think it's bad, but because it's just not my style of music. I personally am still super happy for Taylor Swift. I love seeing the success that she's having. I thought it's honestly badass how she crashed the tickets website. I like seeing her break records. I like seeing her take control of a very corrupt music industry and kind of do it her way. So bravo Taylor Swift, and I am very excited to see what she does in the future. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Am I an absolute monster for my opinions? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What song should this channel review next? And of course, since earlier in this video I did not really go too in depth on the information about the song, let me and others like me know your thoughts about the song, whether it be history, trivia, fun facts, context, anything you think adds value to the song or to the album as a whole. As mentioned, if you'd like to support myself and the work I put into these videos, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you'll find Music Kingdom's Patreon and other affiliate links in the description below. This has been another edition of Music Kingdom. Thank you so much for listening with me, and I'll look forward to jamming with you in the next one.